So I finally got a chance to play Spider-Man Miles Morales, and I was really excited that Sony is finally starting to put a lot of their stuff on the PC because it makes it a hell of a lot more accessible for everybody to not only play these games, but to also play PS4 games at 60 FPS. So I was really excited to see what this was going to look like on my PC, and I was satisfied. I really liked the graphics and everything. I did play the previous Spider-Man game on my PS4, and I really enjoyed that tremendously. So going into this one, I was expecting a lot of the same, and I pretty much got that. So starting off with the good things, the graphics and gameplay are pretty much identical to the PS4 version of the game that I remembered. But of course, on PC, you can bump up a lot more things. You can do 4K and ray tracing and all those things, which I'm not really concerned about. I really don't personally care about those things, but it's cool that we have the options to do those things if we wanted to. And the gameplay is just as slick as it was in the previous game as well, with some extra elements of Miles having these electricity powers, which they call Venom. And it was really cool to be able to do that stuff along of also having his stealth ability of going invisible and kind of having more of a Batman Gotham Knights kind of feel to it, where it just felt like you could also do a lot more stealthy stuff instead of just running and gunning, basically, even though he doesn't use guns, but you know what I mean. The story was pretty good. I really liked the voice acting a lot. The motion capture was really well done as well because it made the characters feel a lot more believable. And I'm not going to be going into any spoilers or anything, so don't worry about that. The exploration feels just as good as the previous game with lots of stuff to find all over the place. And this is definitely like that haven for completionists that just want to 100% get every single item and every single Easter egg and all that stuff. There's just a lot of stuff to find. So it makes it enjoyable to come back and just kind of do all that if you wanted to. Now let's talk about the cons. While I said the story was pretty good, the problem with the story is that it's extremely short. I played for about a good 7 hours and I pretty much beelined the whole main story and that was it. I beat the game and I was just wondering what the hell happened. I totally remember the previous game being a lot longer than this. Maybe it was my imagination. I mean, I haven't played the previous game in a while, so I feel like I have to go back to it to see, but this felt extremely short, like even shorter than the last one, so I don't know. I'm still not going to do any spoilers. But the thing that I felt with the story is that there was a lot of questionable decisions from some of the characters. I'm not going to be like naming names or anything, but there was times that it just felt like we could have just talked this out instead of going through all this fighting and all this crazy shit. So there was moments where not only dumb things happening with certain characters, but also very predictable story that you've seen in previous Spider-Man movies or even like just Marvel movies in general. So if you're into all the Marvel movies and you've been watching them religiously one by one from Iron Man all the way up to Hulk and to all, you know, all those stuff, then you're not going to see anything new in this story. And it's going to make you feel like this was kind of a waste of time. Also, the dumbest thing is that in the very beginning of the game, Spider-Man decides that he's going to put New York in Miles's hands when he's literally a noob to this whole thing, which I thought was the stupidest thing ever, but whatever. It's for the story, I guess. Another thing I didn't like is the difficulty spikes. I was playing it on normal and it felt pretty easy for the most part, but then sometimes you'll fight like a boss and then the difficulty just spikes hardcore. It like turns into Elden Ring where you get like two-shotted by everything. And it's like, what the hell just happened? So you get a lot of these moments where you don't even feel like you're challenged. It just feels like you've been robbed. So these cheap moments, like getting one-shotted or two-shotted by things, it just doesn't feel right. And it really gets upsetting if you land up dying over and over in the same exact spot. Overall, to be honest, this game kind of feels like a DLC to the previous game. It doesn't feel like a full sequel, and it's mainly because they're reusing a lot of assets from the previous game. The world is identical for what we saw in the previous game. The gameplay is pretty much identical to the previous game, minus the Venom powers that Miles has. And the exploration aspect of the game, of collecting all the things, we pretty much did this already. If you 100% the previous game, then you're pretty much going to go into this game and go like, damn, I mean, I already did all this shit. Why am I doing it again? So like, unless you're okay with doing all this stuff all over again and are okay with just having like an alternative story to the previous Spider-Man, then this is probably going to be a fun game for you. And I definitely recommend this game just because of how fun the gameplay is. And I really like the stealth aspect to the game because it just adds an extra element to the combat and everything that you can do within this world. So it makes you kind of think of different ways to fight instead of just going in there and just beating some ass like the typical way. I give this a 3 out of 5. I just feel like it's a kind of average game. There's not really anything unique over the previous game, and that's the main reason is that I'm comparing it a lot to the previous one because it just feels identical to that. So yeah, anyway, that's it. Thanks for watching.